including, you've heard the news, ladies and gentlemen, all around the world. Canada is rejoicing. Not yet, though, because there's still a lot in store. Obviously, this is the big top story that everyone's talking about this week. So much of a top story that even Russell Brand, the spiritual advisor podcaster, wants it to be known. To all you cheery folks out there, I can't really do a Russell Brand impression. Not yet. I'm working on it. It happened. Justin Trudeau has resigned, you cheeky bastard. Again, I'm working on the impressions. But it is true, folks. We mentioned Monday on the live stream that as we were talking, there was the mention of Justin Trudeau resigning, and now it's made official. So here's the address that he made to the public at his residency in Ottawa. Listen to this.
Over the holidays, I've also had a chance to reflect and have had long talks with my family about our future. Throughout the course of my career, any success I have personally achieved has been because of their support and with their encouragement. So last night over dinner, I told my kids about the decision that I'm sharing with you today.
Boy, I gotta stop it there, because can you imagine the conversation you have with your children being the most hated individual here in this country? Could you imagine that kind of dinner talk? Was it Justin Trudeau telling his kids that he was going to resign? Or was it his kids telling desperately his father needs to step out? That's what I want to know. I feel like the kids played a huge part into his resignation. I feel like the kids got up to him and said, "Dad, listen, you tried it your all. You tried to, do what Granddad did. It didn't work out. You're just becoming an absolute mess. You don't have the Riz anymore. And now you're just becoming a laughingstock embarrassment to this entire society. You're a 50-year-old grown-ass man that's partying with underage girls at a Taylor Swift concert. None of this is good. None of this is credible. I think it's time for you to get out." I think the kids played a huge part in this. I have this gut feeling that it was the kids that got up to him and said, "Your time is done."
I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process.
So there you have it, folks. That is the official announcement that he is resigning as Prime Minister and the head of the Liberal Party until they select a new member to represent the Liberal Party. He will still remain as Prime Minister until that happens. This is where I say, hold your applause, hold your, hallelujah, hold your chants, because it ain't over, folks. It's not over. And here is, for example, this is from Reuters, where it says, Trudeau to resign as Prime Minister after 9 years, blames party infighting. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on Monday said he would step down in the coming months after 9 years in power, bowing to pressure from lawmakers alarmed by his Liberal Party's miserable showing in pre-election polls. A subdued Trudeau, among the most predominant progressive leaders in the world, told a press conference that he would stay on as both Prime Minister and Liberal leader until the party chooses a new chief within months. This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election, Trudeau said. He also announced that Parliament will be prorogued or suspended until March 24th. That means an election is unlikely before May at the earliest, so Trudeau will remain in charge, at least initially, of dealing with the threat of crippling tariffs once U.S. President-elect Donald Trump takes office on January 20th. The next election must be held by October 20th, and polls show voters angry over high prices and a shortage of affordable housing will elect the opposition Conservatives and hand the Liberals a resounding defeat no matter who leads the party. In recent weeks, unhappy Liberal lawmakers openly called on Trudeau to quit after his finance minister resigned and accused him of political gimmicks to win back voters. I am not someone who backs away from a fight, particularly when a fight is as important as this one, Trudeau told reporters outside his residence as temperatures dipped to minus 15 degrees Celsius or 5 degrees Fahrenheit. But I have always been driven by my love for Canada. It has become obvious to me with the internal battles that I cannot be the one to carry the Liberal standard into the next election. Well, if it turns out his love for Canada is like the love for his wife, it was going to end in a divorce anyway. So I guess this is the way for Canadians to rejoice on the fact that we finally signed the papers. We finally went through the courts. We finally got through the proceedings. We finally figured out how to split up our assets. Now we finally signed the papers. The divorce is confirmed. Trudeau, 53 years old, took office in November 2015 with a message of hope and sunny ways and won re-election twice. Yes, that was our hope and change in 2015. Becoming one of Canada's longest-serving prime ministers and winning plaudits from progressives for his focus on gender policies. But his popularity started dipping 2 years ago as prices of groceries and housing rose in the post-COVID period, and his fortunes never recovered. An Ipsos Canada poll released on December 22nd showed that Conservatives had 45% support among decided voters, with the Liberal and left-wing New Democrats on 20% each. Such a result on Election Day would mean a huge Conservative victory. Parliament was originally due to resume on January 27th, and opposition parties had vowed to bring down Trudeau's minority government as soon as they could, but with Parliament returning only on March 24th, the earliest they can present a non-confidence motion would be sometime in May. So, again, this is where I inform people that you can have these celebrations, you can, feel victorious that you took down Justin Trudeau, but don't get all your hopes in yet. Don't put all your eggs into this basket because, as we're seeing, he still initially has control. He is still initially having the power to enact these policies that pretty much destroyed the country, destroyed his reputation, destroyed the ego of Justin Trudeau, the fame of the Trudeau brand, until they elect a new leader, until they elect a new person to represent the Liberal Party. And we don't know exactly for sure when that will be. Trudeau said he had asked the Liberal Party to set in motion a leadership contest, but did not say how long it would take. A new party leader would become prime minister immediately and lead the Liberals into the next election. Sashi Kurl, president of pollster Angus Reid, said that while a new leader might be able to stem losses, the Liberal Party was still in trouble. There is a fatigue factor. This is a government in its 10th year. At some point, the milk just expires, Kurl said in a phone interview. I think the milk has turned pretty sour. Although proroguing Parliament would allow the Liberals to choose a leader without worrying about an election derailing the process, the move could still hurt them with voters, said Philippe Lagasse, an associate professor and constitutional expert at Ottawa's Carleton University. I think people are ready for an election. They want to move on. This is just delaying it, he said. So here is a chart that they did on Reuters of the last many prime ministers, because they mentioned that Justin Trudeau has lasted this long, 9 years in government, and he's almost deadheaded towards his former, Stephen Harper, and the longest serving, surprisingly, is his father, out of all people, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, from 1968 to 1979, But if you notice, on the top of the charts, that was his first run, but then you look lower down, he's also again from 1980 to 1984. So that's, I'm not a math surgeon, but that's 11, 12, 13, 14 years that his father's been in power. And I guess his son was trying to compete with that, but didn't make the cut. Not too much in the direction of that, but he was almost close to Stephen Harper and John Chrétien. So here we're going to show some examples of the years of Justin Trudeau. Here's Rachel Blevins saying Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has announced his plan to resign as soon as the Liberal Party finds a replacement. Another friend of Zelensky who supported the escalation of NATO's war against Russia and leaves behind a legacy of increasingly authoritarian policies. Exactly. Exactly there, Rachel Blevins. And here's some video examples that I pulled together of the many years we had to enjoy the tyranny of Justin Trudeau, just to remind people exactly what kind of leadership quality he brought to this nation. So here we go.
Liberal scandal that I could possibly find. Now, fair warning, the list is not exhaustive, and I strongly believe the most rational individuals will believe that the government has not finished adding to the count. Now, traditionally, we would have the 12 days of Christmas, but after 9 years of NDP Liberal government, I bring you the 68 scandals this Christmas instead. So let's take a walk down scandal lane together as we review the 68 and continuing Liberal scandals. The Aga Khan vacation scandal, the prison needle exchange program, pressuring the Justice Minister to get Liberal donor SNC Lavalin off the hook and firing the Justice Minister for not helping with the cover-up. Some people experience it differently, response over groping allegations. The We Charity scandal, Prime Minister assaults NDP MP in the House of Commons, proroguing Parliament to escape the We Charity scandal, sending personal protective equipment to China during a pandemic, giving hundreds of thousands of dollars in ventilator contracts to Liberal Party insider Frank Baylis, fake charges against Mark Norman, rampant sexual assault in the military, illegally invoking the Emergencies Act, fabricating why the Emergencies Act was invoked. The Public Health Agency of Canada found committing contempt of Parliament in the Winnipeg lab document scandal. The Public Health Agency tracking scandal, trampling Canadians with horses, seizing Canadians' bank accounts, rampant abuse of staff in the Prime Minister-appointed Governor General's office, the Governor General wasting over $100,000 to throw private jet parties, Liberal connections with illegal casino magnates, vaccine delays and unwarranted vaccine mandates, dressing up in racist costumes on an official trip to India, dressing up in racist blackface costumes at least 3 times over 11 years. But, the Prime Minister is, this number is how many times the Prime Minister can remember. So mass airport delays and cancellations as we continue, decriminalizing hard drugs, lowering the flag for half a year, polluting more in 1 year on his private jet than an average Canadian does in half a lifetime, more than 72 secret order and councils, sending diplomats to a party at the Russian embassy during the invasion of Ukraine, having a minister give a $17,000 contract to a Liberal aligned media firm, letting Thomas Reuters take his chief of staff to the White House press correspondence dinner. The DND minister misrepresents service, trying to get unwarranted border searches of electronics, restricting online free speech, spending $11 million to renovate the Prime Minister's cottage, raising the carbon tax during an energy crisis and ignoring racist laws in Quebec, misinforming Canadians about electoral reform, skipping the first Truth and Reconciliation Day to go surfing in Tofino, eliminating mandatory minimums for gun offences while going after law-abiding firearms owners, the Prime Minister flying in his private jet to climate conferences, the Prime Minister partying in Scotland maskless while Canadians were still under lockdowns.
So that's just to name a few. That's just to name a few. And there's a lot more in store to this. This is a long laundry list of scandals and corruption and conspiracy that Justin Trudeau, the Liberal cabinets, Chrystia Freeland, Mélanie Joly, Dominic LeBlanc, all these ministers are accountable of that won't be held to account because the entire parliamentarian, the entire Justice Department, the entire media landscape here in Canada is complicit to all this. They're complicit to the corruption that surrounds and erodes this country. So that was just a short little laundry list there, put together by a TikTok user, which I don't know the name of because it's cut off at the bottom here. Here is another video, an ill-famous video, of when Justin Trudeau was doing his press touring around and trying to win campaign votes. And when the Canadians spoke his mind when it came to exactly how repugnant he is to Canadian society. Listen to this.
Thank you for everything you did. Look at this friggin' buck tea, bro. Look at this buck tea.
Hi. Pleasure to see you as well. Hey there, how you doing?
I'm not shaking your hand, bro. You're a fucking piece of shit, man.
Why is that, sir?
You fucked up the entire country. You got our buddy over there.
Yeah, but how did I mess up this country?
Can anybody afford a home? In this day, you're charging people carbon tax. You got 9 V8s here idling for 30 minutes. Carbon footprint is increasing. We're getting charged for what?
You know what we're doing?
It's not stopping. No,
we're putting a price on pollution,
right?
And we're returning it to families like
I
yours.
don't think so. You're sending it over to Ukraine, right?
No.
Yeah. You send it over to the guy that you were with that slaughtered his own country.
You've been listening to Putin, have you?
Putin? No. Definitely don't listen to your propaganda, eh? You got propaganda, bro. Fucking piece of shit, man. Fucking dumbass. Get the fuck out of here. Criminal.
So that was funny. That is hilarious. Obviously, you're getting your points from Vladimir Putin then, because you're talking the truth, and we don't accept truth in Canada here. I'm definitely Mr. Green Thumb with my 11 motorcades going to my private jet to go to Davos to complain about people with lawnmowers and gas ovens. Just to name a few, we got a whole store of these videos in collection here, but I'm just going to name a couple off here. Here's another example. This guy, The World Has Gone Mad, reminds us that Trudeau issued orders for this. Police beat peaceful demonstrators because they dared to oppose his government's tyranny. Even considered bringing in tanks, localized tanks, to the streets of Ottawa during the Freedom Convoy. They considered that. Violating the fundamental Charter of Rights of Canadians should be a reason to call for an election. Now, I'm going to show you the video here. I can't play the audio of this because of copyright infringement. There's a music track underneath this. But I'm going to show you just a video here, just muted, of the kind of destruction that happened when peaceful Canadians got together, all walks of life got together to unite against the tyranny and the medical mandates that were imposed on Canadians. Listen to this. So there's the hundreds of cops. Look at that, just beating the crap out of Canadians on the streets of Ottawa. Look at this. That's your Mr. Diversity. That's your Mr. Peaceful, Mr. Sunny Days Ahead. Justin Trudeau. In part with Chrystia Freeland, who would freeze the bank accounts of these people and the people that contribute to supporting this. Look at that. That is crazy. Wow. And there comes not the tanks, but the large capacitor, what do you call it? The police the big rigs for the police coming in to storm in on peaceful demonstrators in Canada. You know, the true north, strong, free, the peaceful, patriot, love. I guess that doesn't exist within parliamentarian. I guess that doesn't exist with Justin Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland, and the rascals that and just put oppression onto ordinary Canadians that were suffering during the pandemic. Not just the virus itself, but suffering the repercussions of the lockdowns and the mandates and the craziness and the barbaric measures that were taken during those years. That it took truckers who were thanked by Justin Trudeau. I wish I had the tweet on here. Who were thanked by Justin Trudeau to come to reconciliation, to understand that this tyranny needs to stop. That is just absolutely insane. It was absolutely insidious towards our own people, and that's why people of all walks of life came together in support of this rally. And that's how Justin Trudeau responded to it. Here's also this account here. This is a funny account. Justin Trudeau's ego. God, I don't know what's going to happen to him after Trudeau steps down. The reason why a Nazi was given a round of applause in the House of Commons was because, come clear, Russian propaganda. So yes, you remember in Parliament, it was the news that went around the world that every single member of Parliament applauded a Nazi. They thought it was a Ukrainian hero. They brought him in to falsify him as a Ukrainian hero, but it turns out this guy was a fighter for the Nazis for the SS Waffen. Oopsie daisy. And it turns out this guy, much like other people that are in Canada, were actually coming from the Nazi brigade and brought over to Canada under pretenses to fight the commies, as they said, and gave citizenship right away. And now there's a laundry list of names that people want released to know exactly what kind of Nazi criminals live amongst Canada. And who is blocking that? Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau does not want to release that name. They don't want to release the names on the list because it might upset people. It might be embarrassing to his party and embarrassing to the objective of pushing the Ukraine war. Because once we find out, oh, there's a lot of Ukrainian Nazis, just like they told them in 2019, Canadian soldiers were told parliamentarians that in 2019, yeah, we're training with a bunch of white supremacist Nazis. We're training with the Azov Battalion. So yeah, we probably don't want to release those names if we want to continue on this barbaric war, this proxy war that was manufactured from the get-go. But here's Justin Trudeau in his final days to remind you just how insane and just dubious this guy really is. So look at this.
Obviously, it's extremely upsetting that this happened. The speaker has acknowledged his mistake and has apologized. But this is something that is deeply embarrassing to the Parliament of Canada and, by extension, to all Canadians. I think particularly of Jewish MPs and all members of the Jewish community across the country who are commemorating Yom Kippur today. I think it's going to be really important that all of us push back against Russian propaganda, Russian disinformation, and continue our steadfast and unequivocal support for Ukraine, as we did last week with announcing further measures to stand with Ukraine in Russia's illegal war against it.
In his defense, isn't it typical for a Jewish holiday? I mean, the Zionists would say it's typical for a Jewish holiday to put the blame on another country that has nothing to do with anything. You know, as Yom Kippur comes up, we gotta recognize the fact that my mistakes are definitely part of Russia. We don't know how, we don't know when, we don't know why we're blaming Russia, but we are. Because it makes more sense to blame Russia if we're gonna propel this war for Ukraine. If we're going to steal more tax dollars from Canadians to mass slaughter people overseas. which of course led to the resignation of the Speaker of the House, Anthony Rota, and they had to mismanage. They had to shuffle around people to try to find a new speaker. There was this giant expose been released. We know about Chrystia Freeland's backing of her granddad being a Ukrainian propagandist. We know all this stuff. And it's just amazing that after all this, this is the amazing part. I'm literally shocked that after all this, they are still propagandizing people to still support Ukraine. After it has been confirmed that there are Nazis in that territory, that we've been funding and aiding the worst people imaginable in that country, in the most corrupted nation in Eastern Europe. And yet people still want to think that it's something to do with democracy. It's something to do with fighting back against Russian aggression. Even after all this. So, Justin Trudeau, we hardly knew ye, or we knew you too much. That's really the point there. Here you go. The final step into signing those divorce papers, because Canadians are just sick and tired of your crap. So now I guess you can start doing your celebratory dance. But again, I warn people, the worst is still coming. The worst is still yet to come. The fight is not over. And we as Canadians need to stay vigilant more than ever for what is next to come out of this.